what are the Browns doing? What do you think? Is it Shedeur now, is second string? I know Bailey Zappi's on their practice squad, and Deshaun Watson, we've seen him on a practice field every now and then. What's the Browns' plan here moving forward, do you think?
Well, starting off on Deshaun Watson, he's coming back from 2 Achilles tears. That's a very long rehab process. Obviously, he's been documenting that on his social media. I have not gotten the sense that anything is imminent in terms of Deshaun Watson getting back on the field. Bailey Zappi's in his second run now on Cleveland's practice squad. But this does really clear the space now that for everybody saying, why isn't Shedeur Sanders the number 2 quarterback? Well, now here it is. And the expectation would be that he is going to be the one who backs up Dillon Gabriel starting this week, for the Browns. So, with Shedeur Sanders, I know a lot's been made. I watched Gerald McCoy talk about it on your show on Sunday morning, Rich. What are they doing with, having Shedeur and saying that he's going to play eventually? That's always been the plan. Jimmy Haslam flat out said it in training camp, which is they want to see both these guys figure out what they have. And then as we get toward next year and the fact they've got 2 first-round picks, you at least know, do we think we have something that we can work with here? Joe Flacco, barring an injury, Dillon Gabriel was not going to get back on the field this season. Credit to Andrew Berry for getting something for a player that you wouldn't think just on the surface you'd be able to get something for here. But again, this was always the plan, was to see both these quarterbacks. You certainly saw some good things from Dillon Gabriel last week. You saw some not so good things in this game. It's not short term. They're not yanking him mid-game this week to go to Shedeur, but they want to get a full evaluation on both these players. This brings them one step closer to doing that.
Okay, so the likelihood of this week, it's Browning starting in Green Bay for Cincinnati with a last chance saloon message, because Flacco's there as the backup, learning the playbook, while in Cleveland it's 2 rookies going to go 1-2 into Pittsburgh for the 1-4 Browns, who are waiting to see if Watson's in any way, shape, or form ready to come back this year. Tom, that's the likely scenario for week 6.
That would appear to be it.
Okay.
Still no guarantee that we see Deshaun Watson on the field at all in 2025 for a variety of different reasons. He's got 1 more year and $46 million left on that contract. Obviously, they got to amortize a ton of the bonus proration still, and they'll be feeling that effect on their cap for the next couple of years. But they've made some adjustments in terms of how they're going to be able, to account for that moving forward with voidable years and the like. In terms of the Browns quarterback situation, yes, it's Dillon Gabriel this week. I would anticipate Shedeur Sanders being the number 2 quarterback. We'll see if they end up signing Bailey Zappi to the active roster to serve as the 3, just to have a 3rd quarterback in uniform. And for Cincinnati, it's not easy, Rich, to get traded on a Tuesday at quarterback,
right,
and go and start on a Sunday. I mean, Baker Mayfield got claimed off waivers years ago by the Rams and started a couple of days later. Those stories are few and far between here. Again, I've talked to a number of people involved in this situation. No one has said definitively what Cincinnati's quarterback situation is going to be this week, and Joe Flacco's only win as the Browns started this season happened to come over the Packers, who now his new team is facing this week. I would just say with Jake Browning, it would make sense. And honestly, if you're Jake Browning, a trade for Joe Flacco is the best scenario of all the different player acquisition scenarios. In other words, you didn't go out and pay, for instance, a Ryan Tannehill a bunch of money to come in, and you know that the clock is ticking. You didn't give up picks and give money for a Kirk Cousins, who the clock is ticking. Jake Browning, if he does get the opportunity to start this week, which I would categorize as more probable than not, though we have not heard from the decision makers, and again, I've not gotten a straight answer on that to this point, the odds are he's going to be the starter once again this week. If he plays well, maybe you've just got a good, solid number 2 in Joe Flacco, and Jake Browning can hold down this job. What the Bengals couldn't do was sit there, and Brett Rippon's a great guy. He's hung around for a long time because of that, because he's a smart guy you like having in a room. But in his limited opportunities to actually play, he's not performed at that level. Joe's had a lot of success. The guys who run this style of offense have always liked Joe Flacco because he has that quick twitch in his arm, because he can read it and process and get the football out quickly. He has shown over time, not so much this season, but he has shown over time that he can manage a game. Jake Browning's got to get better at that. People talked about, should they trade for Jameis Winston? Well, you just got a 3-touchdown, 3-interception stat line from Jake Browning, which is probably what you get from Jameis. You're not changing a whole lot there. And I don't know that anybody's sitting there and going, well, Joe Flacco's a clear upgrade over Jake Browning. This is not, I won't say it's a message being sent to Browning. It's the Bengals saying, hey, we got to get somebody else in here who we would trust to go out there and play. If it continues to look like, a turnover-riddled mess with Jake Browning, then you might see Joe Flacco here sooner than later.
Hey, you made it all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Check us out every single day streaming live on Disney Plus and the ESPN app 12 to 3 Eastern.